How we doing, guys? We are here at the dawn of our fifth week, and what we've done at the conclusion of this week is turn in our second essay, our descriptive essays. Just some notes on the first essays, the narratives as they've all been returned. On the whole, pretty good. You'll notice that I don't usually give 100 A's on essays, just because it's virtually impossible to get a perfect essay. So, I mean, it's virtually impossible to get to compose an essay that's error-free in terms of grammar, in terms of organization, logic, structure. Essay writing is pretty hard. But if you get an A, really an A of any stripe, be it a low or a high A, or heck, even a high B, bang on. That's pretty darn good. Okay. Those of you who got low, middling B's to C's to below they're usually errors in structure or format, where you didn't adhere to the paper format attachment that's in our Blackboard course shell. And just a little insider baseball here. I'm kind of a stickler for how things look, not exclusively for how things look, but appearance and presence is, that's what draws you in to want to read further. And good appearance, good presentation means that you are worthy of being taken seriously. Okay, so the small little gesture of following the paper format, that gets you in the door. Okay, if you don't, and of course the first one, we all make mistakes, and maybe we're a little rough stumbling out of the gate here. Same with me. Okay, same with everybody this strange semester. But that little thing really speaks volumes, making sure that the paper looks like an MLA essay. Okay, so I just say that going forward, and then making sure you fulfill the basics of the essay requirement. The narrative being, did you really try to portray a single moment? I understand that's hard to do, but even if it was sort of a constellation or combination of moments, did they all add up to a whole? Was there a beginning, middle, and end? And did you illustrate and demonstrate? Did I see people in action? Okay, think about when you're reading a story or watching a movie or a television show. Those are visual stories, okay? Especially in the case of television or movies, you are seeing, you are hearing, you are experiencing people acting within their world. Same thing with really good stories. For my middle schoolers right now, the eighth graders are reading Little Women, and it's a simple story. But it's a really well told story. Okay, the characters seem real. You are in their world because they're actually doing things. It's not just about telling Joe walked down the street. Okay, it's something like with her shoes scraping the concrete, her hair bobbing to and fro, Joe skipped down the street as the sun shone on her snow white forehead. Okay, that's just kind of an off the cuff example there, but there were images in there, so I could see these things. I know what concrete is. I know what hair bobbing is. Okay, rather than just say Joe walked down the street. Okay, so there's a difference there between showing, which is what you want to do. That's what it means to illustrate and demonstrate using words, images, and telling, which is just saying it. Okay, anybody can do that, and of course we're trying to get better writing as we go along. Okay, and I understand this is a high school introductory course, so we're not looking for glittering gems of perfection here, but I'm going to try to push you guys because I think this is important for this class. So the second essay, how well are you having your thing, your person, place, thing, or idea come to life using vivid descriptive images, language? Okay, so here your primary goal isn't to tell a story. That was with the narrative. Now you can tell a story, but the emphasis isn't on storytelling, it's on description. Okay, so and we had a journal entry where we were talking about that fine line between overboard, too much description, and just the right amount of kind of restrained, skillful, well executed description. So really, I'm just going to be looking for that you selected a person, place, thing, or idea, concept, and you described it the best you can using vivid, imagistic language. Okay? And as long as you did that, it looks good. MLA format, about 4 or 5 paragraphs, about 2 pages. Should be all right. Okay? So what we have this week, we're actually getting into what I consider the heartbeat of the course. The course is called Composition and Rhetoric, after all. What is rhetoric? Rhetoric is it is a style of writing or speaking meant to persuade, to engage your listener or your reader with the hope of persuading that person. Rhetoric is argumentation, really. So we are actually moving on now to argument and persuasion. This is chapter 3.8 in our SCC text, and we indeed have a couple of exercises to do there that'll be due at the end of the week. Check the announcement and you'll see the specifics there. Along with that, there are 2 essays to read, and for the classwork and homework for those 2 essays, we're going to be engaging in a dialogue via a discussion forum. So you remember way back for the no-show assignment, the Matt Taibbi article, there was a discussion forum for that. So this is a discussion forum, but based on the 2 essays that are in, our 1101 reader, okay? And they are in the argument persuasion section. And they are a 19th century selection by a writer named William Hazlitt, who was called the best essayist in the English language. So that's some praise there. And his essay is called On the Pleasure of Hating, okay? So think of the socio-political climate today and how everybody seems to be at each other's throats. Personally, I think a lot of that is inflamed by social media, Twitter, Facebook. I think it's kind of making our world claustrophobic, and I used to think social media was a good thing. I guess it's a mixed bag, but now I wonder, is it a good or bad thing? I think it's doing more harm than good. That's just my opinion, and I'm not trying to say that you all have to adopt that stance yourself. But sort of in that vein, when you're reading William Hazlitt on The Pleasure of Hating, what is the writer doing here? Is he saying that we get some sort of visceral adrenaline rush out of hating our fellow man, fellow woman, our friends, our neighbors, our sworn enemies? He kind of probes this idea of what it means to hate. And I often wonder when I read it, is he being ironic? Is he being sincere? What's his point in discussing this subject of hatred and saying that it's pleasurable? Well, that's pretty provocative, okay? So I ask you all to read the essay and to offer a response based on the question I have there. And then the second one is a classic. Perhaps you've heard of it. Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, which, if you are a fan of satire, let's say probably the best satire on television, as far as I'm concerned, in the past 20 years is South Park, the animated show begun, I think it still airs on Comedy Central. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators, as far as I'm concerned, are satirical geniuses, masterminds. They're so good. Unparalleled, as far as I could tell. There are other really great satire shows out there. The Boys on Amazon Prime, I'm watching right now. That's a pretty good one. But this satire it's really provocative. It's really, as we would say today, triggering. I don't mean to say that lightly, but I think people use that term a little too casually today, frankly. So I'm just going to prime you that if you're not familiar with it, it's all about, first of all, 18th century piece written by an Irishman, Jonathan Swift, who also wrote Gulliver's Travels. You might be familiar with that, or maybe you've seen a TV or movie version of Gulliver's Travels. He's satirizing the idea of poverty and promiscuity in terms of women whoring themselves on the streets of Dublin. This is during a famine period, and the writer has a proposal. The writer's kind of a character. It's not necessarily Swift himself, okay? But what is his modest proposal? Let's eat the infants. There's too many of them, for one. We could use them as a new kind of meat, fashionable meat for taverns and hipster-type restaurants, if you will. Let's eat the babies. So a pretty jarring and unsettling idea. But satire, remember, isn't literally aiming at what it purports to aim at, okay? So he's not literally advocating for eating babies, okay? If he was, me requiring you all and English teachers and history teachers hundreds of years at this point, requiring their students to read such a thing would be malfeasance, to put it mildly. What's the actual point he's making? The point isn't we're impoverished, let's eat the babies, okay? He's saying that out of frustration, like, okay, fine. Things are so bad, we might as well just eat the babies. Yeah, let's do it, okay? You ever get that frustrated where you kind of give in to your darker impulses? Of course, this isn't written on impulse at all. It's very well calculated and logical and laid out in such a way. It's actually a work of genius, okay? There's a reason why we're reading it. It's quite funny. It's very dark, okay? But I ask you to engage with that, and these are two great works of rhetoric, of argumentation. They do it with hyperbole, exaggeration, okay, and satire and humor, all right? They're classics. There's a reason why I ask students to read works from the 19th and 18th century in this case, because we all need to know where we come from intellectually. There was a whole universe of intellectual thought that predated my and your births. Our ideas are inherited. All of your ideas about morality and how things are, how things should be run, relationships, that all was bequeathed to you, was handed down to you by the geniuses of the past, from the Bible, from Plato and Socrates, etc., etc. So we're not going that far back in the past, just a few hundred years, but I want you guys to kind of engage with works from at least a few hundred years ago to kind of see how people back then engaged with their readership. It's pretty fascinating. And this is all getting you geared up for your own argumentative essay. The next paper we write is going to be an argumentative essay. And I want it to be a topic that is kind of off the beaten path. I don't want, let's legalize marijuana, or let's outlaw gay marriage or abortion, or you should be 18 to drink if you're 18 to go to war. Video games cause or don't cause violence. Try to stay away from those and try to pick a fresh, new idea, okay? I have some suggestions. In the announcement, keep in mind that you're going to have to do this as a research paper, the next paper, so not the paper coming up in a couple weeks, but the next one is ideally going to be your same topic. You're just going to incorporate research into it. So choose wisely your topic, and you have all week to think about it. You won't start writing the paper until the following week, not this week, but the next week, okay? So think about, and it could be a topical issue. That's best, in fact. It should be something that will have some data, some researchable material out there. So choose wisely. You guys can email me about what you might want to write about, and I'll try to get back to you on that. So again, discussion board, SCC exercises. Think about your topic for your argumentative persuasive essay. And I'm almost at my time limit of 15 minutes, so I'm going to say adieu and have a great week, folks. Peace.